Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the full review for this Redmi Note 7 Pro. And guys, I have been actually using this device for the last 5 days. I know generally I tested for 2 weeks or so, but many of you were eager that I put out the review of this one early, so I'm putting it after about 5 days of usage. And I have divided it between pros and cons, so let's go over that. But before that, here are the specs for the Redmi Note 7 Pro. And as you can see, it's having a 6.3-inch Full HD plus IPS LCD screen. It's powered by the powerful Snapdragon 675 SoC and comes in 4 or 6 gigabytes of RAM. The one I'm reviewing has 4 gigabytes of RAM, and other specs are on the screen for your reference. So let's quickly jump between the pros and cons. First, let me talk about the pros, what I liked about this device. And again, I am liking the pricing of this one. It's having the Snapdragon 675 SoC, which is obviously better than the Snapdragon 660 SoC. And the base variant is priced at 14,000. And I'm reviewing it with the base variant that comes with 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 GB of internal storage. So for the price, you're getting a lot of hardware, fast hardware, I would say. And let's also talk about the screen on this one. It has a 6.3-inch Full HD. This is an IPS LCD screen. And for the price, I would say the screen quality is actually good. I didn't have any issues of screen bleeding or anything on the unit that I have. And also I like that the auto brightness sensor is done very well on this device. We have seen a lot of devices that have auto brightness sensor, but the calibration is just not up to the mark. Glad on this one, it is really good. When you go outdoors, it becomes really bright. Indoors, it goes dull. So that has been done well on this. And also, I'm glad that again, it's a Xiaomi phone. So Xiaomi does not skimp on sensors. So all the sensors are there on this phone. And in fact, it has some extra stuff like the IR blaster and stuff like that. So in that area also, I'm really happy. Now, moving to the processor, as I told you, it's the Snapdragon 675 and it's octa-core processor, and it's based on the powerful Cryo 460 cores, and it's actually really good in performance. In fact, I'm not a firm believer of benchmarks, but I did run Antutu on this, and I got actually a really good score of 1,81,000, as you can see here. So in terms of the raw processing power that this chipset has, it's actually really good, and that translates. It runs on the MIUI 10 out of the box, and I didn't see any issues of lagginess or stutteriness when I was using the device for the last 5 days. So in that aspect, the processor handles everything well, though this is the base variant that has having that 4 gigabytes of RAM. I'll talk about the RAM later. And moving to the speaker also, it has a single speaker here at the bottom, but I would say the speaker is sufficiently loud. I didn't have a problem with that one, but again, it's not a stereo speaker. And I also took some of the voice calls via the speakerphone, and they were adequate. I'll talk about the earpiece and other stuff in the later part of the video, because I feel that could have been improved. But anyways, let's move forward. And as I've told you, this is the 4 gigabyte RAM model, and I would say the RAM management on MIUI, at least with this 4 gigabyte RAM model, is slightly on the aggressive side. Yes, it will keep some of the apps in memory, the recent apps that you used. As you can see, I have used that app, Twitter I was using. Last 3 or 4 apps to keep in memory. But again, it actually tries to close a lot of apps that you haven't used for 20-25 minutes. So in that way, I would say it's slightly on the aggressive side. It's not a deal breaker in my opinion, but I felt it was slightly on the aggressive side. But in the last 5 days, it was not like that. I was disappointed with the phone when I was using. It also has a physical LED notification light, but it's on the bottom over here, and it's just a single color, that's white. But I'm glad that they still have a physical LED notification light. Now moving to the battery, here I was super impressed with this one. On paper, it just has a 4000 milliamp hour battery, but I have to say the battery life that I was getting on this phone was nothing short of amazing. Easily about 7 to 8 hours of screen on time, and this is with almost 2 days of usage. And even if you're sort of a heavy user, it will easily last for a full day, and for most users, I would say easily about 1.5 days. And in terms of screen on time also, as you can see, here are some of those charts. The battery life that I was getting was really good. If you're even a heavy user, you can expect about 7 to 9 hours of screen on time, and for most normal users, easily about 1.5 to 2 days of battery life. So in that respect, Xiaomi has done great optimization on this one. Also, some of you have asked me about any heating issues or something like that with regular usage. With regular usage, I did not face any heating issues with this device. So it was normal, I would say. Yes, if you extensively use the camera, yes, the back will get slightly warm, but that's the case with almost every Android phone or even iPhones. So I won't complain that. But in regular usage, no problems of heating that I have encountered. And I have used this phone outdoors also, guys. And now let's talk about the camera, because that was the most hyped up thing about this one. As you notice, the rear camera is a dual camera setup. The main sensor is actually a 48 megapixel Sony sensor, and the secondary sensor is a 5 megapixel for depth, and the front facing camera is actually a 13 megapixel. First, let's talk about the front facing camera, because I was not expecting that much. But as you can see with these sample shots, I was pleasantly surprised with the front facing camera. It's a 13 megapixel front facing camera, but as you can see, the pictures that I got with them were actually really good. And even when you enable that portrait mode, and even if multiple people are there in the frame, it does a good job even in the portrait mode. So I was actually pleasantly surprised with the front facing camera performance, because even the Redmi Note 7 had similar configuration, but the Redmi Note 7 regular one's front facing camera was not as good as this one. But now let's move to the rear facing camera, and this has been hyped up quite a bit. It's having a 48 megapixel sensor, but by default it will only shoot in 12 megapixel, and it's using pixel binning. The only way you can access that 48 megapixel is if you go to the Pro mode, that's sort of the manual mode, and there you have an option of enabling 48 megapixel. First, let's talk about the 48 megapixel, then we'll come to the regular shots. In 48 megapixel, again, whenever you move to that 48 megapixel, what I have noticed is whenever you shoot a picture, there is a delay. There is a processing delay of about 6 to almost 10 seconds when you take the pictures in 48 megapixel shoot. And I thought, yeah, I'm okay with that 8-10 seconds delay if the results are amazing. But the results are not that different from the pictures that we take in 12 megapixel. For example, here are some of the sample shots that I've taken in 12 megapixel versus the 48 megapixel, and I'm zooming in, guys. And I thought when you zoom in too much, the 48 megapixel will have hugely far sharper images, but that is simply not the case as of now. So I frankly feel that 48 megapixel stuff is just taking too much space, and it's not giving you that much great results. In fact, I would say for most of the users, just shoot with that 12 megapixel mode and you'll get great results. And here are the samples that I've shot with that 12 megapixel. As you can see, these images came out really good, and even human subjects with me and my family that I've taken in this 12 megapixel mode with that portrait mode, they came out really good. So the 12 megapixel is actually in many cases performing much better than the 48 megapixel mode. So I would suggest just stick to that 12 megapixel mode for the most part. Maybe Xiaomi can optimize that 48 megapixel images later on with the software update, but as of now I didn't see a huge difference, because that regular 12 megapixel photographs can range from about 5 MB to about 8-9 MB, whereas that 48 megapixel images range anywhere between 17 to 29 megabits, and again that processing delay was there. Now moving to video, I feel again the video performance is actually good. A good thing is that it has electronic image stabilization, and here are some of the sample videos that I took with this Redmi Note 7 Pro. So guys, recording this sample with the rear facing camera, this is at 1080p, guys, and as you can see I'm walking, and this is steps also. It employs electronic image stabilization. Just wanted to give you an idea how is the video recording. And guys, this is at 1080p. It does even record at 4K, and 1080p it looks fine. It has that electronic image stabilization. You guys let me know what do you think about the video and the audio with this one. Guys, now what I have done is I've set it to 4K, and again as you can see I'm doing the same thing. I'm just holding it and I'm just walking, and you guys let me know what do you think about the video at 4K. By the way, it's 4K at 30 FPS for this one. Recording this video sample with this Redmi Note 7 Pro, and as you can see guys, I'm just walking around to give you an idea how is the stabilization. Looks like it does employ some sort of electronic image stabilization even with this front facing camera, because I don't see a lot of shake. But again, you guys let me know what do you think about the video recording with the front facing camera of this Redmi Note 7 Pro. So those were the good things about this Redmi Note 7 Pro. Now let's move to the cons, and I'll start with the camera again. By default, the current camera UI, again, it's similar to almost every Xiaomi device, but what I have noticed is that, again, as you can see, it just froze up for a couple of seconds. Many times it's actually doing that for 2-3 seconds, it just freezes up. Now it's fine. Sometimes even when you move to the portrait mode, there is quite a bit of delay and stuff. And during my last 4-5 days of usage, about 2-3 times the camera completely froze and I had to quit it. So there are bugs in the camera, and when we are moving between the regular mode to the portrait mode, there is quite a bit of lag that I have noticed. Takes about 2-3 seconds. Sometimes it freezed when I was just moving between the mode, even when you move from the front facing camera to the rear facing. So I feel the camera app is not fully optimized yet for that 48 megapixel sensor. I hope Xiaomi improves that with that updates, because sometimes I had to actually force quit that app. Hopefully they can fix it with an update. And also that 48 megapixel images, when you take, there's a lot of processing time that it takes, 6 to 10 seconds. So if you're thinking that you'll just bang 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 take 48 megapixel pictures, that is not possible as of now. Now moving to another thing is that it comes in 2 variants, as I've told you. The 4GB RAM variant comes with 64GB of storage, and the 6GB RAM variant comes with 128GB of storage. It's great. But if you're opting for the 4GB RAM model, that comes with 64GB of storage, and I think so most of the users will do that because that's the best value in my frank opinion. But the thing is that the slot that they have provided is a hybrid slot. So if you want to use 2 SIMs, then you cannot add a micro SD card. So I feel that's a big omission on this device. And also another thing is that, again, it's a phone, so we'll take a lot of calls with this, and I've taken a lot of calls with this one. But I felt that the earpiece, even at the maximum volume, was not that loud. Whenever I was taking calls and I was just hitting this volume on even to the max, I felt that the earpiece volume was not that loud, and in many of the noisy situations I had to actually ask the person to yell. So I don't know if that can be fixed with the software update, but this is something that I have noticed. The earpiece volume is okay, but again I felt it could have been louder. Now moving to another thing, and I've noticed this after using it. It's a back glass, great, it looks great, but I don't know, it's a very slippery one. Almost 3 times out of my pocket, this hat slipped out. So again, be careful with this one. It's very, very slippery. Use it with a case, I would say, to be safe, because it just slips out. One of the most slippery phones, it slipped out 3 times out of my pocket, and luckily it just fell inside my car, so I got it. But you got to be hyper careful. Use it with a case, I would say. And also moving to the rear camera, as you can see, the rear camera just juts out a little bit. So again, you got to be careful. If you don't use it with a case, and if you keep it on the desk, actually it's resting on that camera, and the phone wobbles if you touch it. So again, be careful with that one, because it can get scratched. That's the reason I would say use it a case, because with the case, again, I'm hoping that it won't rest completely on the camera. And also moving to the weight balance of this device, I feel the weight balance is slightly, it's top heavy. So whenever you use this device, it feels slightly heavier on the hand. Even after 5 days, I'm noticing that one. And now let's talk about the ad situation, because it's a Xiaomi device running on MIUI. And guys, if you have followed, again, if you have watched my unboxing video, there I showed you that you have to enable some of the settings that you need to do. And if you do that, I'm using with those settings, you will not see a lot of ads on this phone. The only place where I saw the ads was when I was installing apps from Google Play Store. It has its own one more app there which checks those apps, and in that I saw ads. But again, I quickly went there and disabled it, and I'm not seeing ads now. But again, if you use some of the Xiaomi own app, like their video app, their songs app, yes, you will see ads. I'm personally actually not using those apps, so now I'm not getting ads on this device. So again, yeah, if you follow those instructions which I've told you in the unboxing video, yes, 90% of the ads will go away. But if you again use some of the Xiaomi built-in apps, yes, those apps will have ads. That's the ad situation. So to summarize, what do I feel about this smartphone? Considering the price point of this phone, the base variant at 14,000 rupees, I feel for the performance that you're getting with the Snapdragon 675 SoC, it's a great phone. And also, I like the front-facing camera and even the rear-facing camera. But again, I'm not that hyped about that 48 megapixel camera thing, because I frankly feel it's a hype, and the regular 12 megapixel mode was doing a far better job. But nevertheless, I'm liking this phone for the price. Snapdragon 675 has excellent performance, and also the battery life is actually really good. I just hope Xiaomi can fix that earpiece volume issue with the software update. If they do that, then I feel it's a great device at 14,000 rupees. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review for this Redmi Note 7 Pro. If you still have any questions about this device, do let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to answer them. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, guys.